Hey, what's up, you guys? Jeff Cohn with another episode of the Team Building Podcast, where we interview top team leaders, broker owners, and thought leaders from across the country. Today, we have an amazing guest in Mr. Will Story, hailing from Denver, Colorado, Mile High City.
How's it going, Jeff?
What's up, man? We've got some history, so let's just dive right in. You can share with our audience members what you guys are doing today. I know you have a very, very successful expansion team in Denver, but then all of the hardships you had to go through to get to where you are. I'm really excited to talk about that.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I mean, full open book on it. It wasn't easy to get where I am today. It takes a lot of steps, right? A lot of work.
100%. So share some of your numbers now. Where were you guys in the year 2021?
We'll probably end the year right over 100 transactions where I'm seeing it going. I started building my team back in 2017. My wife had told me we were pregnant with our first kid, and I was like kind of bored. In 2016, I sold 36 houses. I worked like 30 hours a week, and I'm like, well, I'm going to have to do a little bit more if I'm going to have a kid and have a big life,
right. Step it up.
So let's step it up, So, I was actually at Berkshire Hathaway at the time, and the guy that ran my office, he's like, there's this guy in Omaha. His name is Jeff Cohn, and they have this thing where you can go spend the weekend, or I don't know if it's a weekend, like 2 days with them and learn their systems. I'm like, this is a good way of like going about this team building thing instead of just doing it. So I partnered with like my best friend, and we're going to build the team together. And we get there and we're there, and it's like me, you, and I mean, there's other big people there. Like Brian Gubernick was there, Jason Abrams. I'm like,
oh, that was a good crowd, dude. You got a really good crowd.
That's awesome. Yeah. And so, we get there and, we go through, and it was 2 days of learning systems and models. And I mean, at the end of the day, the systems and models, that's what it's all about. Because if you want to have replicatable business, it's got to be systematic, right? So I remember I got there, and at one point you and I were talking because we spent a lot of the time together for 2 days. And you're like, so you and this other guy, you guys are business partners. I'm like, yeah. You're like, so no one's like the boss of the other one. I'm like, no. And you're like, this will never work. And me and my buddy were like, we'll show him. So we leave and we start building the team in 2017. And it was rocky. We're both very direct people, and we're very talkative. So we talked a lot. We didn't get a lot done.
On the disc, sorry to cut you off. You're both DIs, right?
Extreme Ds and extreme Is. He's more I, I'm more D, but both of them are just off the chart, So we would just sit around and talk. But what we never had was the systems-based person to execute. To actually put into play any ideas. So with that in mind, it was just a lot of fluff. Well, we started bringing people on the team and kept going with this whole idea of building a team. And it was good. And I was actually taking the elite real estate system coaching at the time. I was coaching directly with Andy on your team at the time. And here's the issue. I was learning all the information. And I think there's so many people in real estate that go to all these classes and they learn everything they can. But they don't do the work. They don't implement it. So I didn't. So even though Andy's like, you got to do this, you got to do that. And I was like, yeah, I got to do it. I got to do it. I just wasn't doing it. And so I started taking this kind of fire of my business because it worked, and it worked well with just one person. I had an admin that could work with me well, but instead of making it really solid and having a foundation, I just started throwing people on the fire. Mm-hmm. And so fast forward to 2018, at that point, I'm doing more deals than I've ever done as a team, but I end up, my profit margin is around 10%. I'm going broke. I've got my first kid. My wife is not working at the time. And so it's just me as the breadwinner. And before real estate, I was in restaurants, right? I'm going back to like restaurant manager income. And I mean, at the same time, I've got these huge monthly bills I got to pay. Like one thing that your system teaches is having, vendors contribute. And I just did not ever take the time to do that. For one, I didn't take the time to build the vendor relationship to get the contribution. So you can't just go to a lender and say, hey, lender, I know we just met, but can we co-partner right now? Can I get some money? It doesn't truly work that way. It didn't work well. And so 2018, I get to November, and I didn't know exactly where I was going to finish the year, but the writing was on the wall. It was not good. And it was good production-wise, but not take-home pay, which is the biggest number to me is my net pay. And so with that, I fired 5 of my 7 team members on one day because I had this dumpster fire of a team that barely operated. And I mean, the culture was atrocious. We were all mercenaries trying to make money. And being a mercenary is great, but at the end of the day, it's not the way to grow a team. It's not cohesive, and it doesn't lead to good things. So As I got in November, I was like, I got to fire these 5. They're awful. The culture's awful. There's no saving them. So I decided.
You hired the wrong people.
Oh, 100%.
What I love so far about this podcast, take a drink. What I love so much about the podcast so far is how honest you're being about your failures. And so often no one wants to look bad. The truth is the people that succeed at the highest level, and there's a big takeaway from this, fail more than everyone else. The people that succeed at the highest level fail more than everybody else. Rarely do you hear people talk about their failures because they want to share with people what they did great. But today we got to listen to Will talk all about his failures, and he's been very honest about the fact that he didn't choose to implement the things that were being taught. So he mentioned our workshop. We still continue to host 3 of those a year in Omaha. We're really excited. We just announced on social we'll be hosting our first one ever in Southern California in Long Beach in January. So if anyone wants more information about that upcoming workshop in Long Beach, super inexpensive, couple $100. That's I don't have the exact dates on me right now, but you can go find it at eliterealestatesystems.com. Also, the coaching product that we provide, we actually just created an updated elite team building guide. That's an outline essentially of the 12 months of content that we deliver on our high level team leader calls. You can get a free download of that guide at growwithers.com. All right, Will, let's talk about your building stones. So in 2018, you wanted to hit it hard. You fired 5 people, leaving 2 agents left. You still had that business partner that was just like you with the high DI personality. Going into 2019, how did you correct?
So going to 19, I'm like, do I even do a team? Am I the right guy for this? Is it really what I should be doing? Because 2016 was pretty badass. I ran my expenses were about 20%. So I was running like an 80% profit margin. I made way more money and I worked way less, right? So I'm like,
who was your agent?
In 2016? Me.
Exactly.
Just me.
So you had the job of being a realtor. Yeah, it's easy to keep expenses low when that's your job.
Yeah. No, it was awesome. But yeah. I mean, at the same time, if I went on vacation, I had to take a ton of phone calls. My job didn't end. It wasn't the life that I wanted. Just to go back to it all, when I was a kid, my dad worked 100 hours plus a week. He'd come to the Little League game and be there for one inning and have to go back.
Jeez.
He provided us a lot of opportunity, but it was just the best he could do. So I'm like, well, with my 2 kids, that's not how it's going to be. I'm going to be there at all of it, And so that's where I see real estate as awesome as you can do it. So I got to the end of 18 and I'm like, what do I do? And I knew about expansion and Keller Williams, right? ESO, expansion systems. I'd taken the class 3 times. I'm like, maybe I go into this. I'm like, maybe instead of fixing the dumpster fire, maybe I get rid of my dumpster fire and hook into someone else doing it better. So, as I went through Christmas time and that kind of slow 10 days that we have of the year, I really reflected. And I get to January, I'm like, I'm going to look into this. Let's see if I can do it, because if I'm going to do it, this might be the way to go. So I started looking at a ton of different options out there. I mean, there's a lot of different expansion teams. Mm-hmm. They all offer different things. Some offer like tons of support and they, some don't. And, no right or wrong. It's just different models for different people, So I ended up in May of 2019 joining up with Adam Hergenrother and HergGroup, right?
Yep.
And, what I liked about that is the model that appealed to me is they did 2 things well. One, they helped people build big teams. It wasn't like a lot of onesie and twosies all over the country. There was actual big teams all over. I'm like, that's what I want to do. I don't want to just be one agent. If that's the case, I'll go back to my 2016 model.
Right.
And so I love that. And then the other part was mind growth, right? And really working on growing yourself there. And, so I'm like, this is what I can do. I can grow myself as a human and I can really make it happen, right? So I joined in May. And in May of 2019, I'm like, all right, I got it. And I just start recruiting again. Actually, those 2 guys that I had, I lost them as I was going through this time of, do I want to have a team or not? I ended up losing both of them. So I started the team over in May of 2019. And I start recruiting, and start doing kind of what I did before with ERS, right? With Elite Real Estate Systems, which to me, it's this. It's you see a system and instead of saying, I have to do all of it, you're like, I'm going to do this piece, and that piece. And then you expect the same result, which it doesn't happen, right? If you just do 20% of what ERS does, you don't get 100% of the results. Or same with what Adam Hergenrother does.
Sure.
So I got through 2019 and it was a good year. It was a better year. Profit margins are better. I got someone holding my hand. If I want to go light money on fire, they're like, wait, let's think about it first, right? So I got slowed down enough to think through things. But I get to February of 2020 and I'm like, I'm not as far along as I thought I would be. I'm like, it's just not there. I thought this was going to be easy when I hooked into a big team. And the reality was I went to a class. It wasn't even the breakout session I wanted to go to. The one I went to at Family Reunion was full of people, so I had to go to a different one. I went to an Adam Hergenrother one, and I'm like, I didn't want to go to this because I hear him every week for free. Well, not for free, but I'm part of his system, so I'm with him all the time. But I went in, and he said something that was impactful. He said, the people on my team that run with me are the ones that'll get there. The ones that don't run with me, they're not going to get it. And I went introspective finally, and I'm like, was it Jeff Cohn's system or was it me? Is it Adam Hergenrother's system or is it me? And it was me. I was not doing the stuff. I wasn't running with Adam at a high level. I was half-assing it, just like I did with the RS, just like I've done with a lot of things in my life. 2016, I probably could have sold a lot more houses if I tried harder, And so I decided at that point in time that I was going to run with Adam. I was going to actually go all in. Because I was kind of at a point at that time where I'm like, this isn't right. I'm going back to the single agent model. But when he said that, it just kind of hit my heart. And so I started doing it. I'd read The Morning Miracle, right? We've all read that book by Hal Elrod, right? But I never did it. Like my morning miracle was like, wake up, get a shower and go to work, and my wake up time went from 7 a.m. to 5 a.m.,
I don't know which saver that is. Shower. Not sure if that's one of the savers. That's his first shower, right? Yeah. Hal's a stud, dude. What I love about you, Will, is your willingness to admit it. And most people don't. Most people don't even self-discover. So that's awesome. You went to Adam's class and that's what hit you. I love the idea, like painting that picture of running with the big boys or girls, right? Running with the big boys. Like, let's go. Because a lot of people don't work hard. Agents are pretty lazy for the most part. Most people, not even agents, are just kind of lazy and just take the bare minimum of what things give them. They play defense. They don't play offense. And so you recognize that the problem wasn't everything around you. You owned it. Great book on that, by the way, Extreme Ownership. Great podcast episode, by the way, was Adam Hergenrother, who I had on the show a few months back. If you want to go find that podcast episode. And Adam does a fascinating job when it comes to expansion inside of Keller Williams. And I believe he's offering an option now to expand outside of the brokerage flag.
Yeah. And I'll say, like, at the end of the day, how many agents have you had in your life that are like, man, ERS, Jeff Cohn, they're not doing it for me. And it's like, was it your system or was it them? Right. Because at the same time, you could probably also say for that agent, I've had huge success with other people. Yeah. And so I started really embracing it. I started, in a sense, embracing the suck, right? Instead of being like, I'll just kind of tiptoe around the parts I don't want to deal with and, really not look at the stuff that is the hard truths. And so I started going down that self-discovery, and that was a big part, starting my mornings off solidly every day, having that great routine, going in and leading through self-leadership. That's probably the biggest curve in my momentum, is by saying, I always wanted to just tell people what to do and say, come on, get this done, go here, go do this. And I look at them like, well, until I can do it, until I grow to that human, they're not going to do it. So I've spent a lot of time going through, whether it's, reading books to grow myself as a leader, doing the activities that it takes so that people see that leadership, they see the growth. And once they see it, I find it's a ripple effect through your business, not just your professional business. I see it with my wife, my kids, it just trickles in. Like, it's funny. I get the Maxwell Minute every morning with John Maxwell, and me and my 4-year-old son, he comes and sits on my lap. We watch our friend John every morning, right? for a minute and a half, right? And I used to get the Maxwell Minute in my email every day. I'm like, well, that's nice, delete. And I wasn't doing it, right? It was all that half-assing. So once I started doing those pieces, the magic started to happen, So now I have my team. I have 7 agents on my team. I'm working on growing more. We're looking to shoot into a second location right now. Right now we service geographically a large area, but it'd be better to have a few actual spots there. It makes it easier, And so we're looking at that, and it's a thing that I wanted to do years ago. I just wasn't the man to do it.
Yeah. Well, if anyone in the Denver area is listening to this and they want to be one of the agents in one of your expansion locations because they like your transparency and your leadership, your love for people, he's also giving out free hugs. If you're watching this, he has a free hug shirt on. I need to get that because I also like to give away free hugs. How does someone get in touch with you?
So the best way is to either go right to my cell phone. I don't know, we can post that later on the thing, but my cell phone's a great way, or will@herggroup.com. And Herg is HERG, like help every realtor grow, group.com. Feel free to send me an email, because at the end of the day, your goals are your goals, and I'm here to help you with them. Whether you want to sell 10 houses, we're looking for those agents. We're looking for the ones that want to sell 40 or 50 as well. There's a lot of opportunities in our world. We do work with a big builder here. We're doing hundreds of condos and townhomes right now. They're under construction. So whether it's, saying, I just want to go in and sell a lot of houses and be an awesome agent and have a great life, that's there. If you say, you know what, I want to actually run a team of my own, we can expand within our team to where you can have those opportunities to also lead and coach and mentor people, because that's the most fun part of my job, I find.
Well, awesome. Very well said. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I love the takeaways today. Got to get out of your own head, get out of your own way, change yourself before you could change anyone around you. You found someone to run with, which I think is great. Being able to run with Adam and his group. Anyone listening that wants more information about ERS and our high-level team leader product, which I know Will has spoken very highly of. He just regrets not plugging in sooner, and or would like more information about upcoming events. We also have a Monday, Wednesday agent training product. If you're an individual agent still selling and want to learn more about that, you can just go out to growwithers.com. Also, please go on to the podcast app via iTunes and give us a 5-star review. Give Will a shout out in whatever little message that you leave for us. The more reviews we can get, more people will be able to find this when they're searching for team building content out there. I believe as of today, no matter what app you go to, if you search team building, we're the first one to pop up. So please continue giving us those awesome reviews to help us stay there in the number one spot over Tony Robbins. And until next time, Will, would love to get you back on the show in another 6 months or a year from now to see your growth. You said you're going to hit about 100 deals. Let's get you guys up to about 1,000. There's a lot of houses selling in the Denver metro area. I would guess 60,000 a year total sides, probably 30,000 houses. Is that a fair guess?
That's pretty close. As a state, we're close to about 80. So I'd say within Denver metro, because that's the bulk of it. Yeah. Probably about 60.
I know a lot dried up with the market, slowing and everything, but I think we're going to start to see that all start leveling out here over the next 24 months, get back to a neutral market, which I think is going to be better for everyone. Will, appreciate your time, man. You were awesome. Thanks for being so transparent and so open with our listeners. I know there's a lot of people in your 2017 and 18 mindset that just needed to hear the things you said today to make the shift. Run with us. Listen to the Team Building Podcast. Listen to the ERS content that we put out. Come out to our events. Join High Level Team Leader Coaching. We are here. We're running. We're never slowing down. We're doing things no one in the country is doing, and we'd love you guys to join us. So again, we'll appreciate you coming on the show today. Dana, our fantastic co-host. Dana, thank you for participating here with us today.
Oh, thanks. You should introduce me at the start. So
I should.
It's just like some creepy guy from out of nowhere.
Who's this third voice? This is very interesting. All right, guys. Well, until next time. Thanks again, Will.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it.